Niagara Falls, amazing facts you never knew. The birth, history, early wonders of Niagara Falls. Visuals of roaring water, mist rising, rainbows forming. Friends, imagine a river so powerful that it can carve through solid rock. A waterfall so massive that you can hear its roar from kilometers away. And a place so breathtaking that over 12 million people travel each year just to see it. This is Niagara Falls. But today, we're not just going to look at it, we're diving deep into the most amazing, jaw dropping, and little known facts about this wonder of nature. Welcome to part 1 of our Niagara Falls series. 1. The name Niagara, where did it come from? The word Niagara is believed to have come from the Iroquoian word Onguyahara, which means the strait or thundering waters. The indigenous peoples who lived here long before European settlers arrived, like the Onjara tribe, saw the falls not just as a river feature but as a sacred and spiritual place. The formation story 12,000 years in the making. Niagara Falls is actually a teenager in geological terms. About 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, glaciers began to melt, releasing massive amounts of water. This water carved out the Great Lakes, and the outflow from Lake Erie rushed toward Lake Ontario, creating what we now call the Niagara River. The relentless flow of water began eroding rock, cutting the Niagara Gorge, and forming the falls we see today. Fun fact, Niagara Falls has moved about 11 kilometers upstream since it first formed because the water keeps wearing away the rock. 3 falls, not just one. Most people think Niagara Falls is just one waterfall, but it's actually 3 separate waterfalls. Horseshoe Falls, largest mostly on the Canadian side, American Falls entirely on the US side, Bridal Veil Falls, smallest, also on the US side. Together they pour out over 168,000 cubic meters of water per minute at peak flow. That's enough to fill 68 Olympic-sized swimming pools in just 1 minute. First people to see the falls in history. The first known European to document Niagara Falls was Father Louis Hennepin, a French priest and explorer in 1678. He was absolutely stunned and called it a prodigious cataract. Of course, indigenous peoples had known about the falls for thousands of years before that, using the Niagara River for fishing, transport, and spiritual ceremonies. 5. The Rainbow Connection. Niagara Falls is famous for its rainbows. The constant mist in the air refracts sunlight, creating brilliant arcs of color. The most spectacular rainbows appear on sunny summer afternoons when the sun is behind you and the mist is in front. 6. The Daredevils of Niagara. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Niagara became the stage for daredevils. Annie Edson Taylor, 1901, the first person to go over the falls in a barrel, and survived. She was a 63-year-old school teacher. Charles Blondin, 1859, walked across the Niagara Gorge on a tightrope multiple times, sometimes blindfolded, on stilts, or carrying a man on his back. Frozen Falls? Yes, it happened. On March 29, 1848, Niagara Falls stopped flowing for about 30 hours. Ice jams upstream blocked the water and people walked on the dry riverbed near the falls. It's the only time in recorded history that Niagara has stopped. 8. Early tourism, the Niagara boom. By the 1800s, Niagara Falls had become one of the first major tourist attractions in North America. People came by horse-drawn carriages and later by train. The area around the falls turned into a bustling center with hotels, souvenir shops, and guided tours. 9. Cross-border wonder, the falls straddle the US-Canada border. The Rainbow Bridge offers one of the best views, and you can literally walk across from one country to the other in just minutes. Passport in hand, of course. 10. The mist's microclimate. The constant mist from the falls creates a unique microclimate nearby, supporting rare plants and mosses that wouldn't survive without the constant moisture. Niagara Falls, amazing facts you never knew, power, legends, and surprising secrets. Nighttime shot of Niagara Falls glowing in rainbow lights, mist rising into the air. Niagara Falls, a global powerhouse of hydroelectricity. Most visitors see only beauty, but Niagara is also an energy giant. Every second, enormous volumes of water are diverted through underground tunnels to massive hydroelectric stations. The Niagara Power Plant, completed in 1961, generates more than 2 4 million kilowatts, enough to power about 2 million homes. Day, lighting the night, the illuminations. Niagara Falls doesn't just shine under the sun, it glows at night. Since 1925, powerful lights have illuminated the falls after dark. 3. Seasonal transformations. Winter, ice formations turn the falls into a frozen wonderland. The ice bridge that forms across the river is thick enough to hold cars in extreme cold, though walking on it has been banned since the tragic 1912 ice bridge disaster. The moonbow phenomenon. Niagara Falls has a rare trick. It can produce a moonbow, a rainbow created by moonlight instead of sunlight. This happens on clear nights during a full moon when the mist refracts pale light from the moon into a ghostly arc. 5. Legends, myths, the Maid of the Mist. An ancient indigenous legend tells of Lelawala, a young woman who paddled into the falls in grief. The thunder god Hinu caught her before she struck the rocks and brought her to live in his cave behind the falls. 6. The fish that survived the plunge. It sounds impossible, but many fish survive going over Niagara Falls. Thanks to the cushioning effect of mist and foam, species like bass and carp often emerge unharmed at the bottom, slightly stunned but alive. 7. Tightrope walking in modern times. In 2012, Nick Wallenda became the first person in over a century to legally walk a tightrope directly over the falls. It took him 25 minutes to cross the 550-meter span, and he wore a safety harness as per legal requirements. 8. World records wild stunts. Youngest person to survive a trip over the falls, 7-year-old Roger Woodward in 1960, wearing only a life jacket. First jet ski over the falls, Robert Overacker in 1995. Sadly, it ended in tragedy. 9. Dangerous beauty. Safety measures. While Niagara is stunning, it's also dangerous. Over 5,000 bodies have been recovered from the river since 1850, many from accidents, others from deliberate jumps. That's why railings, warning signs, and patrols are everywhere today. 10. The border in the middle. The Horseshoe Falls mark the border between the US and Canada. If you stand in the middle of the Rainbow Bridge, one foot is in the United States, the other in Canada, perfect for a unique tourist photo. 11. Under the falls, the tunnel experience. On the Canadian side, the journey behind the falls lets you walk through tunnels carved into the bedrock, ending at platforms right behind the roaring curtain of water. The sound is deafening, the mist so heavy you feel soaked in seconds. 12. The changing falls, erosion preservation. Niagara Falls retreats about 30 centimeters a year due to erosion. In the 1960s, engineers even diverted water from the American Falls to study the rock face and decide how to slow the process. Special measures like controlling water flow at night have helped preserve its shape. 3. The $30 million view. Properties with a clear view of Niagara Falls can sell for millions. Hotels pay premium prices for rooms that overlook the cascade, and the Canadian side offers arguably the best panoramas. The falls from above. Helicopter tours reveal the scale of Niagara and the surrounding Great Lakes. The view from above shows the massive water system feeding into this natural wonder, something you can't grasp from the ground. G. Niagara Falls in pop culture. From Marilyn Monroe's 1953 film Niagara to countless documentaries, the falls have been a backdrop for romance, action, and mystery. It has appeared in video games, music videos, and even comic books. See the soundtrack of the falls. Standing close, you hear a constant roar measured at around 90 decibels, as loud as a subway train. At night, when the surrounding world quiets, the sound is even more surreal. Sarntine, the future of Niagara. With climate change and shifting water levels in the Great Lakes, scientists are studying how Niagara might change in the next century. More extreme weather could affect water volume, ice formation, and erosion rates. Niagara Falls isn't just a tourist stop, it's a living, changing masterpiece of nature. A place where history, culture, engineering, and raw natural power meet. Whether you see it under the blazing summer sun, frozen in winter's grip, or glowing under moonlight, one thing's for sure, you'll never forget the roar of Niagara.